Welcome to the Black Entrepreneur Experience podcast, inside the business, buzz, and brilliance of Black entrepreneurs. Here is your host, Dr. Frances Richards.
Thank you for joining us on the Black Entrepreneur Experience, where we share and shine the light on the most successful Black entrepreneurs in the world. I'm your host, Dr. Frances Richards, and I'm so excited to introduce Brandon Miller today. He's an IT consultant, graphic designer, serial entrepreneur, business strategist, Chipotle eater, 5K runner, blogger. Outside of his full-time job, he manages not one, not two, but 3 companies that he's founded. He's the head designer and owner of That Guy's Graphic, LLC. He's also co-founder and president of the Black Burdell Incorporated. And he's also co-founder of the Scheme Team, LLC. Welcome, Brandon.
Thank you. I'm super excited to be here. I'm just super excited, and thank you for that introduction.
So what I want you to do is fill in the gaps, because this is a very impressive resume. It is very impressive when I read about you on the internet, but I'm going to let you share what's the most important thing that you would like our audience to know about you.
Definitely. So thanks for this opportunity. When I think about, the businesses that I've started over the past few years, the ventures that I'm currently working on and the influence that I'm trying to have, the biggest, umbrella of a concept to incorporate it all is what I call my personal brand, and that's just be great. And throughout my businesses, throughout what I do on a day-to-day basis, my biggest focus is on inspiring others to find their passion and to pursue their passion and embrace their greatness. So whether that's coaching them through entrepreneurship, helping them define their brand, or some of the other projects, which are things like speaking engagements. I've put together different workbooks that people can find on my website, a plethora of resources and networks, all with the purpose of helping others embrace their greatness and get to where they're trying to go.
Well, thank you for that. And how do you find time to run 3 companies and to give back and help others to find their passion, to find their purpose?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's probably the most common question I get. I would say the biggest thing that I do is, one, if you find something that you're passionate about, time is rarely ever an issue. Now, there are plenty of moments where it's just like, I don't have enough time. I don't know how I'm going to get this done. But if you're passionate about something, you will always find a way. So that's the first thing I tell people. The second thing I tell people is to build solid teams for whatever it is that you're trying to do. So with all of these businesses, it's not just me, and I'll never take credit and say, these businesses are just me. I spent the time with my co-founders and other members of the team to really ensure that everybody's self-sufficient and equally passionate and are really getting out of the endeavor, whatever it is that they're personally trying to get out of. And that really reduces my workload, and it increases the trust that I have in the teams. And it really reduces the amount of time that, I have to spend on a day-to-day on each of these businesses. And the last thing, so the third piece would be learning how to automate some of these processes. So finding out what it is that you do on a day-to-day basis over and over and over, and utilizing tools, technology, and resources to kind of automate those processes to make that more efficient for you.
Now, one of the things that you said, Brandon, which is so profound, because we're talking to our audiences, aspiring entrepreneurs and individuals that are serial entrepreneurs, and you said something, and you were talking about building a solid team. And talk to the person in the audience. They're saying, gosh, Brandon has jumped over to, I'm at step A, but he has me at step L. How do I get there? how do I build a team? I'm a team of uno, solo. So how do you do this? How do you build a team? And then you were saying finding individuals that are equally passionate. Talk to someone that is interested or that has started their business. They're a solo entrepreneur and they're saying, I need help. I need a team. How do I do that, Brandon?
Yeah, so if I'm going to rewind back to when I first started my first venture, and I was a solo entrepreneur, I was in step A. I had these grandiose plans of what I want my business to look like. I'm super passionate, but it's just me. The first piece of advice that I give to an aspiring entrepreneur is to sit down and really think about what your strengths and what your weaknesses are. A lot of entrepreneurs just want to go, and go from, like you said, step A all the way to step L, and they don't have all of the skills that they need to get there, and that's perfectly fine. So one, write down what your strengths and what your weaknesses are, and just truly understand those, and be prepared to communicate those. The second thing that I see a lot of entrepreneurs do is they're scared to talk about their weaknesses. They're scared to talk about what they're not good at. You're not going to find somebody that can help you at your weakness if you don't communicate what your weakness is. So being, I'd say, proud of your weaknesses, communicating those to others, getting involved in different networking circles, different meetups, and just talk about what you're passionate about, what you're good at, what you're not good at. And eventually, you'll find somebody that can marry up with your weaknesses, and your weakness will be their strength. And you'll find people that are passionate about the same things as you, and you'll find individuals that mesh. So I was a solo entrepreneur for about a year until I found that person. But at the end of the day, I found that person, and it's been great ever since. So in recap, know your strengths, know your weaknesses, be proud to talk about them, be excited to talk about them, and then put yourself in the right circles, and then everything will marry up.
So Brandon, you're kind of a unique interviewer for the audience. And so what I want, because you, most times individuals, not that we haven't met serial entrepreneurs, but I want you to pick one of your businesses when I ask this question, and I want you to tell the audience which business you're talking about. So I'm going to give you that opportunity. You decide. But how did you decide, whichever business you decide to discuss, that was the business for you? And what was that aha moment that you knew it was going to be successful?
Definitely. So I'll talk about my nonprofit, the Black Burdell. And this nonprofit's based in Atlanta, and our sole mission is to promote, support, and cultivate African American entrepreneurs, especially those that are students or recently graduated from college. So we offer things like scholarships, we do workshops, and we do an annual conference. And what prompted me and my fellow co-founders of this enterprise to start it was realizing what we needed when we were starting our first business. So when I was in college, I started my graphic design firm, and I realized, okay, there's not a lot of African American entrepreneurs that I know of that can mentor me, that I can learn from, that are doing what I'm doing. They were hard to find. The businesses were hard to locate, and that's what I needed when I was starting a business. So fast forward to when I started the Black Burdell with my co-founders, we sat and we had conversations, and we knew that we wanted to make an impact. We knew that we wanted to develop our community, the young African American community. And we just sat and we brainstormed, well, what would be the best way? Like, what did we need when we were in their shoes? And that's when we decided to start this entrepreneurship-focused nonprofit. So it's one, identifying kind of what we needed at the time, Two, it was identifying what we were passionate about. So we were passionate about entrepreneurship. We were passionate about our community. And then finding that intersection and setting a business plan around that unique intersection.
So what was your major in college, and how did that translate into your business?
So my major in college, I went to the Georgia Institute of Technology, and I studied biomedical engineering, and I minored in technology and management. So in short, in a big picture, it doesn't necessarily translate into some of my entrepreneurial businesses, but what I did learn is how to problem solve, how to work with others, and how to identify the most efficient solution to a problem or to a unique circumstance. So I do relate my engineering background directly into problem solving and working with others.
Thank you for that. And how do you define success? What does that look like for you? And how long did it take to manifest in your life personally, Brandon?
Yeah, so I think I have somewhat of a unique definition of success. So for me, success is just as simple as taking a positive step towards your purpose. So it's not necessarily an end state or a destination, but it's the journey, and it's making that positive progress on that journey. So many entrepreneurs get lost in the, what's next? I should be working right now. I should be doing something else. I'm not at my final end state. I'm not at my desired goal. And we lose sight of our progress and all of the little steps that we made to get there. I was fortunate enough, like when I was younger, to be raised in what I considered a successful household. Now, we weren't, rich, and I didn't have a, silver spoon or anything, but everyone in my family was working on, what they were passionate about. They instilled the value of helping others and being the best version of yourself. So that idea of success and just taking these positive steps was always manifested in my life. So, I was just blessed to have that mindset when I was younger. And it only grew kind of as I grew up and started some of these enterprises and started working my full-time job.
Give us the day in life, just a glimpse of Brandon, because what I find so unique about your journey, your story, if I'm not mistaken, you reside in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
You talked about you're running a business out of Georgia. Okay, so tell us about this. Give us a glimpse of a day in life of Brandon, and what is that takeaway? Because when you talked about earlier about automation, you must be great at technology and automating these processes to be in different time zones and managing successful companies.
Yeah, so the first thing I'll say is no 2 days are ever completely the same for me. I used to try and have this specific routine that I did every single day, which would make my life easy and everything would be super efficient. And I realized being in different time zones, having a 9-to-5, trying to manage other people's schedules as well, no 2 days would ever be the same. So a typical day in my life, I guess, would be I'm typically in a different city, so I'm typically not in Texas. For my 9-to-5, I travel for work Monday through Thursday. So for the past few months, I fly to D.C. during the week. Most mornings, I'll wake up around 5 or 6-ish and do a quick workout. And while I'm working out, maybe on the elliptical or on the bike, I'm checking emails on my phone. So each business, I have a separate email account, and I'll just kind of go through and kind of skim any, big news, any things that I really need to be concerned about in all of my accounts while I'm working out. I'll then get breakfast, and then I'll head to my 9-to-5 job. And I'm a huge proponent of when you're working on one thing, focus on that one thing. So a majority of the time from 9 to 5, I'm working on my 9 to 5 job. I'll take coffee breaks or lunch breaks, and I'll go over any emails, respond to emails, send quick texts to different people in the different businesses and just get updates from them. And then once I get off the clock at 5, that's when the work really starts. So I typically have, each day I'll have a call with a different business. So for example, Monday I may have a call with the Black Burdell. Tuesday I may have a call with the skiing team. Wednesday I might have a graphic design call. And we'll just go over any action items for the week. Anything that, any glaring problems or anything that I need to be concerned about or anything that my teammates are concerned about. And we'll just cover those. I usually spend my afternoons creating content for my blog posts or working on any specific initiatives that I have coming up. But the beauty of automation and some of these automation tools is I don't necessarily have to work as hard posting to social media or posting my blog posts because I have everything scheduled ahead of time. So everything from a outward-facing proponent is usually already scheduled for the week, and I don't have to worry about that. It's more so internal business development that I work on a day-to-day basis.
So what would you say is a technology tool or a technology platform that is a must-have for you in managing your businesses?
So I have 2 that I use every single day. The first would be Buffer, and it is a content scheduling tool, and it's how I manage all of my social media. So Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook. On Sundays, I'll sit and I'll schedule everything that I want tweeted or posted to Instagram or posted to Facebook for the week. And it's time consuming. It usually takes about an hour or 2 on Sundays. But at least I know that I don't really have to worry about posting to social media during the week. So it takes care of all of that. The second tool that I always use is called Zapier. And it's an automation tool which links different platforms together. And it has a if this, then that methodology. So for example, if somebody downloads a workbook from my website, then automatically add them to my MailChimp newsletter. Or if somebody shares one of my posts on Twitter, add them to this Excel sheet so I can text them a thank you note. And there's millions of different variations on how you can automate between these different platforms. And I'm learning new integrations every day on how to make my life a little bit more efficient. But it's a great tool. It's something that I recommend to any entrepreneur, especially those small startup entrepreneurs that don't have a huge team of people to kind of work for them.
Thank you for that. That was a jewel. So thanks for that.
Of course.
Now, Brandon, what is one valuable lesson you wish you knew before starting your business?
A valuable lesson that I wish I knew. I would say the biggest lesson, and it's really simple, and I actually still struggle with it a little bit today, is ask for help. Now, I had the mindset when I was younger, and I'm still trying to shake this mindset now, that I don't have to be everything to everybody, and I don't have to solve every problem on my own. And I kind of had this mentality because, I read a book that talked about fail fast, fail often, fail forward. You learn lessons from your failures. The only way you get better is to fail and learn from it. And I have that mentality now, but I realize there's an importance of learning from others' failures so you don't have to fail as much. So when I first started up some of these businesses, I was just kind of failing and I was just learning a lot of lessons that I could have learned from other people and ask for help. And I kind of talked about this earlier. Just know what you're good at, know what you're not good at, and for your weaknesses, just ask for help. There's so many people and so many entrepreneurs that are scared to be vulnerable or are too prideful to just ask, hey, how did you do this? Or what's the biggest lesson that you learned when you were trying to do this? And so many entrepreneurs that I've learned in our community, older, established entrepreneurs want to help. They just don't know who needs it. So my biggest piece of advice is just ask for help. The worst answer that you're going to get is no, or I can't help you, and you'll be in the same position that you were in before. And if you keep asking, you'll find somebody that will help.
Yes, absolutely. Now, who are your top 2 influencers in your life, and what lessons did they teach you?
Yeah, so I'm surrounded by so many influential people, and I talk to them like all on a day-to-day basis. The first one would be one of my good friends. His name is Rushion Miller, and he's an influencer that's kind of in the same space as me. He's developed some businesses on his own. We've collaborated a lot together, and he's actually a mental health advocate. So as an entrepreneur, a lot of us get stressed. We don't manage our mental health. So what he's helped me realize is, you need to take care of yourself before you can take care of others. And the quote that he gave me is, you can't pour from an empty glass. And what that showed me is the importance in investing in yourself before you can invest in others. Nowadays, so many people are kind of heads down in their own projects, and they don't take the time to take care of themselves before taking care of others. So that's the first influencer. The second, I would say, and I don't even know if they're considered influencers, but I follow Gary Vee and Richard Branson to like a T. Like, those are my 2 favorite entrepreneurs. And I told myself, if I could be the black mix of Richard Branson and Gary Vee, I would be happy. They're both very dedicated and steadfast in what they do.
Right.
They really enjoy and they're really passionate about what they do. And they're great at managing multiple enterprises in multiple different types of industries that are all very impactful and that are inspiring to others. And that's really what I'm trying to look to do with my personal brand.
Let's talk about risk and failures. What is the worst moment in business, and what was your takeaway?
So this is a tough one for me, and when I was looking at the question, this is like it's hard to kind of think about for me, only because I don't think in failure. I really have never thought about, I failed at this, because I've always had the mindset of anything that I quote unquote fail at is just a lesson to be learned, and I don't have any true failures. Personally, I get over things really quick, which helps me deal with when things don't meet my expectations. But if I would classify one of the biggest risks that I've taken, or what I would consider a failure for myself, is learning when to step away from something that I know has the potential to be big in due time. So, for example, started an enterprise. It was going great. We had plenty of momentum. And then with just time and circumstance, started to fizzle a little bit. And, I'm the type where it's like I want to hold on to the very last minute, and I don't want to step away from something if I see there's potential in it. And at times, you just have to learn when to take that step and to walk away. And it was something that I cultivated my time into, and having to take a step back felt like a failure to me. In addition, I've been invited to participate in other enterprises that I just knew were going to be huge in the future. I knew they'd be huge revenue builders. I knew I could get rich off of them, but they just didn't really align with my personal brand and what I was trying to establish for myself. So I decided to say, no, I don't think this will be a great fit for me, even though I knew it was an awesome opportunity and that they would be very successful. Mm-hmm. So my biggest takeaway would be, staying true to yourself, staying true to your passion, and staying true to the brand and what you're trying to build. and just realizing that, you have to make tough decisions at times. And when the value that you're putting into something won't match or isn't matching your expected return, then you just got to know that you'll have to make a tough decision, and it's okay to walk away. It's okay to say no. Just stay true to yourself.
So, Brandon, talk to the person in the audience. They want to start a business. They're working the 9-to-5 job. They hate their job. They're fearful in reference to starting their business. What advice would you offer them?
So I'd start off by saying what they probably don't want to hear, and that is you're going to have fear. As an entrepreneur, you're going to have fear. It's a natural emotion, but at the same time, fear isn't real. Fear isn't something that's tangible. It's kind of like worry, or it's kind of like doubt, right? Just like the Will Smith movie, what is it, After Earth, where he says, fear isn't real. But if you're in the audience and you want to start a business, then I can guarantee you that you already have a passion. You already know kind of deep down what it is that you want to do. And the only thing that's holding you back is that fear. But what that fear is doing, it's holding you back from happiness. So you just kind of have to have that realization that fear isn't going to go anywhere, but I need to channel that fear into something that will be beneficial into creating that jump. So I would say you can channel that fear into grit. You can channel that fear into determination, but utilize it to catapult you into your purpose. Know that there are plenty of resources, there's plenty of networks, and there are plenty of people that are willing to help you turn your dream into a reality. So just channel that fear, utilize your resources, and like I said before, don't be afraid to ask for help. There's plenty of resources. There's plenty of business plan templates. There's plenty of, networks and resources for you to use. You just have to make that jump and channel that fear into something that's beneficial for you.
Brandon, what book would you recommend and why?
So I would say my favorite book is The Alchemist. It's a book that I've read over 7 times. And why I love and appreciate the book so much is it's not only about realizing your dreams and making your dreams a reality, but it's about achieving those dreams despite any obstacles, any hardships, or any failures. 2 of the central themes in the book would be, when you want something, all of the universe conspires to help you achieve it. That's a quote that's said over and over in the book. And another one is, whenever your heart's in something, that's where your treasure is. So that in itself teaches us so much about entrepreneurship, about business, and about life. It's just when you want something, and you really want something down deep in your heart, it's something that you're passionate about, you're going to make it happen. If you're really passionate about it, you're going to make it happen. Despite any failures, hardships, tough times, if there's a will, there's a way. And that's one of the biggest reasons that I recommend that book to any entrepreneur.
Thank you for that. And let me ask you, if you conducted this interview, what is the one question that you wish I would have asked you?
That's a great question. I would say probably one of the most common questions, and questions that that I get on probably a daily basis, would be, just how do you find the energy and the time to manage so many businesses, so many ventures, so many projects, as well as your 9-to-5, and continue to make positive progress in each of them?
And you have to answer that, Brandon.
See, okay. I wasn't ready for that. You asked for the question. So I kind of touched on a lot of, I guess, what the answer would be throughout this interview, which was great. But if I would boil it down into some bullet points, I'll reiterate. 1, build and develop solid teams. It's kind of like the foundation of a house. if your foundation isn't solid, your business may slide over time. It may be solid for a little while, but if you don't really invest in that foundation, it can't support you over time and over different circumstances. So 1, build and develop teams. 2, build and develop processes and automate them. So some of those automation tools like Buffer and Zapier. The big thing would be schedule your time and segment your priorities. So one of the biggest things that I do is I started to realize that how I manage my expectations is imperative. Like I said before, I always have these grandiose plans, like the scheme team is going to be this, the Black Riddle is going to be this, that guy's graphics is going to be this. And I'm so busy looking, at the big picture that I misstep along the way and I kind of lose my way a little bit. So what I do is every single day I write down in the morning one thing that I need to get accomplished in each business. It could be something as small as send an email to Jane Doe, or it may be something as big as rebuild a website. But just identify one thing for each business in which you would deem your day successful and accomplish that. And then the last thing would be make sure your passion is interwoven into every single thing that you do. If you're not passionate about something, you're wasting your time doing it. So those would be the big 4 bullet points to answer that question.
Thank you for that. Now we've come to the part of our interview where it's called the Fun Facts, the Lightning Round. And I'm going to ask you a series of questions, and I want you to give us very quick answers. So, the last movie you saw, Brandon?
I think it was Logan, X-Men movie.
You relax doing what?
Running and lifting weights.
Your favorite singer?
Living would be Usher. Other than that, Michael Jackson.
And your favorite dance song?
Some stuff. Anything that's played at one of my family reunions, I guess. I can't pick one.
What food do you eat every week, no matter what?
Chipotle.
And your favorite month?
The best month, October.
And what is the best way for our audience to connect with you?
Following my Instagram, which is at that guy, B as in boy, Mills, Mills, or my website, www.brandonemiller.com.
Brandon, thank you so much for joining Black Entrepreneur Experience. You are so busy, so we are deeply honored that you would take time to come and share with our audience. And any parting piece of guidance you want to offer?
I guess in parting, thank you so much for this opportunity. I actually love this interview, and the questions were so beneficial. And any aspiring entrepreneurs out there, follow your passion, be relentless in following your passion, embrace your greatness, and don't be afraid to contact me or contact any other entrepreneur. Just make sure you make your dream a reality. So, thank you.
Thank you, Brandon.
Thank you for listening and subscribing to Black Entrepreneur Experience. We would love for you to leave a review and rating on iTunes and share with your friends. For show notes and more episodes, go to www.beepodcast.com. Join us next Wednesday, and remember, green is the new black. So keep your bank accounts and your business in the black.